Cape Cod Broadcasting weaves the listening environments of 99.9 WQRC, Ocean 104.7, WFCC Classical 107.5, Cape Country 104, and CapeCon.com's website experience to reflect the lifestyles of the people who live, work, and play on Cape Cod. We hope that you enjoy this podcast.
Good morning, I'm Rob Woodard. You're listening to Sunday Journal. Today I'm joined by Melissa Hersh. She is the Arts and Cultural Coordinator for the town of Barnstable. Good morning, Melissa. Thanks for coming in today.
Thanks for having me, Rob.
So tell me what's going on in the cultural arena with the town of Barnstable these days.
Sure, there's so much going on all the time, Rob. As you know, I love my job working for the town of Barnstable. I'm thrilled to live in the town and work for a town that really recognizes the power of arts and culture. And we have so many programs and activities that really keep an interesting, vibrant community going. Now, I was here a few months back with you and we talked about the cultural districts that we have. Barnstable has not one but two cultural districts.
Okay, and tell me the difference between the two.
Sure. Well, we have one, the Hyannis High Arts Cultural District, and we have Barnstable Village Cultural District. And of course, that's a state designation by the Massachusetts Cultural Council, and there's certain criteria, and there was a whole application process. But it basically supports the fact that we have so many cultural assets, economic assets. It's in a walkable area, and it's a place where people really want to be. There's so many activities taking place and opportunities to be about all things local, all things arts and culture. And so part of my role is helping to program and work with other organizations and businesses in the districts and support the arts and cultural activities. That's one part of my job.
And speaking of which, I know that you're working with one other local organization, and we may see some sculptures along as we make our way up and down the Cape.
Yes, it's all about, arts and culture really is the foundation of community and economic development. Really important to keep an area vibrant and interesting. It's about creative placemaking and having an area where people want to live, work, shop, play, create. It's about economic development because you have, by supporting and fostering the creative economy, they in turn support their community. You have private investment, public investment coming in, and that's what creative placemaking is about. The infrastructure improvements, the streetscaping, the programming that supports it comes all together to create this wonderful area. So
and now you're talking about the Arts District.
Well, just the town in general.
Okay.
Just the town in general. Certainly our efforts in Hyannis from going back, arts and culture as strategies to enliven the area. And part of those strategies were getting a state designation as a cultural district to further support our efforts. That's in Hyannis. And also Barnstable Village. We have 7 villages that are all equally important, all have arts and cultural gems. And so with our cultural districts, in the district itself, there's activities, and then we work with our other villages, cross-promoting and collaborating efforts to support and promote the arts in all 7 villages.
When you say that there's a state designation involved in that particular district, what does that mean for that area?
It means right now extra marketing support. Eventually it will mean funding support, we hope, through the state. And that's where it brings in your question as far as upcoming sculpture and creative placemaking. The Cape Cod Chamber received such a grant from the Mass Cultural Council. They received a grant for, quote-unquote, creative placemaking, and they are using it in the cultural districts on the Cape. The town of Barnstable has 2 cultural districts. There's a cultural district in Orleans, and there's a cultural district in Sandwich. And the Cape Cod Chamber is working with the towns and local artists to create, with the funding that they received, the Cape Cod Chamber received, to create some beautiful pieces of sculpture in the cultural districts. So again, that's another benefit of being a district. We were selected to host one of these or 2 of these sculptures because we are a state-designated cultural district.
And that was actually a very involved process that involved representatives from the state coming down, evaluating your plan, evaluating the physical area itself, and ultimately you were successful in pursuit of that designation.
Correct. Last year was an exciting year for Barnstable Village. In 2012, we received the designation for Hyannis. And yes, it's a very involved process. And again, we are just thrilled to be able to have not 1 but 2 in our town. I hope that there'll eventually be some more cultural districts along the Cape, because I think as far as attracting people, my mind is that arts know no town line, so that you attract people because, of course, part of it is about about tourism, and again, bringing people in to come and visit and spend time and money in your towns. And this is yet another way to do that. So if there are some other districts designated and people come specifically to see and follow the dots of the different districts, right now they can do that through 4 of the districts.
And you mentioned tourism. Now, obviously, there are many more people here in the summertime. What are some of the contrasts between what people will find with regard to art and culture in the wintertime as opposed to the summertime? I would imagine that there's much more going on. Just as an example, the artist shanties down at the harbor and that sort of thing. But what if people are looking for that little dose of wintertime excitement? What can they expect?
Sure, absolutely, Rob. Because I think it's maybe a misperception that nothing goes on in the wintertime here. A lot of people think that so much goes on, whether it's music, whether it's theater. I mean, we have phenomenal local theater Cape-wide, and certainly in the town of Barnstable as well. We have music, live local music throughout the Cape. We have the artists from the shanties. A lot of them, as well as other artists, are either show in certain galleries. There's all sorts of artist festivals, even in the wintertime. There's actually even some winter's farmers markets where you'll also find the local artists. So I think that there's so much to do. Arts Cape Cod is a site developed by the Arts Foundation of Cape Cod. And for this very reason, that you can go right on, whether it's an app on your phone or right online, and you can punch in anything that you're interested in and find pretty much happenings any day of the week year round. So that's very exciting.
You want to give that, how would you go about finding that?
Sure, Arts Cape Cod.
Arts Cape Cod, okay.
Cape Cod. And then we have in the town of Barnstable, Arts Barnstable. And again, that's a website and a Facebook page for all things happening in the town of Barnstable.
And obviously lots of different cultural activities and cultural districts, different programs you have that take place throughout the year. You mentioned earlier Sandy Neck. There was a program going on there.
Yes, thank you. So out at Sandy Neck Beach, there is what's known as the Halfway House, and it's a very rustic cabin halfway between the trails of Sandy Neck Beach and the lighthouse. And we have done in the past an artist retreat, an artist of all disciplines, whether you're a writer or a musician or a photographer or a painter. We offer opportunities where you can complete an application. It's a very basic application, and it gives you a chance to unplug and immerse yourself in really a living museum and nature's canvas, and spend some time out at the Halfway House exploring, painting, writing, creating, just having that opportunity to unplug from the everyday busyness of life and be able to create. And I'm really excited about it. There is an application available on artsbarnstable.com, and we have 4 select dates, early and late spring, and then in fall of 2015.
So do you mean that the artists would actually come and be in residence they live there? Or
I'm sure some of them would love to live there. They get to go out for a day adventure or for the more hardy and overnight adventure. Okay. I say that because I like to go out and visit during the day. It's a very rustic cabin. There's no running water. There's no electricity. You have an outhouse. But you really... You're one with nature and one with your surroundings.
Pencil me in for the day trip.
Exactly. Although the artists that have gone overnight have just the experiences that they describe from both being overnight and then waking up to a spectacular sunrise.
I can imagine.
Are so worth it.
Such a beautiful area too.
Yes.
Must be very inspirational for those who are blessed with talent, which I am not.
Yes. I wouldn't say that.
And so I would imagine that the application process is kind of competitive. You must have a lot of interest in this program.
We do. The word is getting out there. And so it is on a rolling basis as far as filling out the application. We are allowed to bring 8 people out for the course of the day. So, yes, it fills up pretty quickly. If we have an overwhelming response, we will work with Nina Coleman, who is the Sandy Neck Beach Park manager, to create a second or third day trip. So right now we're working working on those 4 dates because you deal with the moons and the tides and the staff and the season and the weather. But she's a little flexible. We certainly want to not exclude anyone, but we want to try to accommodate as many as we can.
Sure, and I'm sure that even though we're approaching January, you're probably already gearing up for some of the things that you're going to be showcasing next spring and summer. Can you give me any kind of a scoop?
Absolutely, Rob. We have, of course, as I mentioned, we have all 7 villages with lots of cultural gems in each of them. My focus in programming really is concentrated in Hyannis and the High Arts Cultural District. And I'm already busy at work, even though this is January. I already have the artist shanties in place for the May through September season. Talk about a competitive program.
Yeah.
That is limited on how many artists we can fit in there, and the season is booked. We have concert series. We have music at the shanties. We also have music at Azleton Park. We have our Hyannis High Arts Campus, where we do have an artist in residence who lives there. We have the Geyer Barn, which is a community art space where there's some theater and art exhibits and dance, a little bit of everything in that space. We have a gallery featuring many different artists. We have a Potter studio. And again, this is all in the walkable Hyannis High Arts District, and people can come and interact with the different artists and engage in some of the activities. So plenty going on. We have the Village Green, where there's some programming I mentioned that I work with other businesses. So the Main Street Business Improvement District is working. They program the street, Main Street, but working together to come up with different activities and events on the Village Green and even along Pearl Street. And
obviously these things take place throughout the summer, all at different times. So there's always something to be
There's
excited
always something
about.
going on. Absolutely. Summer, fall, and as I say, even now, even in the winter time, you can find activities.
Let's go back to the artist shanties again.
Sure.
What can we expect? I mean, you have artists there of all disciplines: photography, painting, of all different materials and
right. We have weavers. We have fiber arts. We have someone that does knot work and works with rope, mariner, like the rope bracelets and the wall hangings, tapestries, glass, jewelry, and then even within each of the categories, for example, painting, you have pen and ink, you have watercolor, you have oils, you have encaustics, the jewelry. I have from everyone who finds the stones. I call her the stone whisperer. She finds heart stones along the Cape beaches and then turns them into jewelry. So from stone jewelry to someone who metalsmiths and glassware creating. It's remarkable, the artists and the talent.
And when you say that it's competitive to take part in the shanty program, are they mostly local artists, or do you attract artists from around the region or maybe even around the country, or is there any limitation on where people can come from?
There are, and the fact that you say that is that I get calls all the time from people who have visited or heard about the program that want to participate. One of the first criteria is that you must be a Cape Cod artist.
Okay.
Now, we do allow for those folks that live here in the summertime, but they are a resident of the summer, not just I get calls where people say, well, I'm coming down for 2 weeks.
Right.
That doesn't qualify. They do have to be a long-time summer resident or year-round resident. They are juried in for quality and for variety. For example, they could be juried in for their quality, but then we have usually photography and jewelry are 2 of the largest categories, and you can only allow so many so that there is variety on any given week. And the program really is intended for emerging artists who perhaps never before were in a retail setting. And this gives them a very affordable way to learn about how do I market, how do I set up my wares, how do I engage with the public, how do I meet other artists. It becomes a little community each week with the 7 different artists. We do have some that are more seasoned, more experienced. They serve as mentors to those that have never done this before. We have some that have been able to return to the program, and others where, again, the programs become so popular and so competitive that it's difficult to rotate and, select who can come, who can stay again, who unfortunately has to move on. But that's part of the program. And we've seen that success. It's to bring them in, have them learn. We've seen them then own their own galleries or be represented in other galleries or learn how to sell and market themselves online or take it to a whole new level.
And how many artists, you say that there are 7 there at any given time, how many actual artists will come through the program in a season?
Sure. There are 7 artist shanties. I do have artists that share, so you might have 1 or 2 in a shanty, so that during the course of the week you can have anywhere from 7 artists to 14 or 15 on that given week.
Okay.
And then for the course of the season right now, we have well over 70 artists participating.
Wow.
And certainly our listeners, if they're interested in this program or any of the things we've talked about, they can find information on artsbarnstable.com.
Artsbarnstable.com. Okay, well, it sounds as though it's going to be an exciting season, not just down at the harbor with the shanties, but throughout the district, and especially that Sandy Neck program sounds intriguing.
Yes. I hope to hear from folks about that program as well. Sometimes we get folks that don't have art. That also has that criteria of being an artist,
right?
Of any form, any mindset. But yeah, we're really excited about that. And all of our programs, again, in the High Arts Cultural District, Barnstable Village Cultural District, and really all 7 villages.
Well, terrific. Well, thanks for being here this morning, Melissa. It was great to see you.
Nice to see you.
I've been talking today with Melissa Hersh. She is Arts and Culture Coordinator for the town of Barnstable, and we have been discussing the upcoming season as well as some new programs that she is putting together for Cape Cod visitors and residents. I'm Rob Woodard. You're listening to Sunday Journal.
This podcast is a presentation of Cape Cod Broadcasting, which is solely responsible for its content. Thank you for listening. For more information, please visit us at capecodbroadcasting.com.